podcast where people reach their goals and develop confidence one mind shift habit at a time. Let's join our host, certified coach Christina.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach. I am your host, certified mindset and confidence coach, Christina Calloway. I help athletes, parents, and coaches develop the confidence they need to achieve their goals, one mindset shift habit at a time. If you've been following me, you know that I am a former national competitive gymnast, now coach. Gymnastics has been a part of my life for several decades. When I am asked what I love about the sport, it is difficult for me to pick one thing. However, if I have to pick one, it would be the life skill lessons that I learned that I can now apply and I now do apply to my life, as well as the many, many friends that I have made along the way and that I continue to use in my network, as well as the lessons that I now teach the gymnasts that I am afforded to work with. Well, the guest that I have joining me on this episode is also a former gymnast. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to learn that she too is using some of the skills that she learned off the mats in her daily life. Before I bring her on, allow me to share a little bit of information about her. Her name is Courtney Johnson. She's also known as Dr. Kojo. She is a physical therapist from Atlanta, Georgia. Courtney was a competitive gymnast growing up and is now a USA Gymnastics Level 10 judge. You probably don't know what that means, some of you, and some of you do, and you're probably really impressed about that because that is a hard thing to achieve in terms of becoming a level 10 judge. Judging in and of itself is a hard thing to do because it's moving so fast. She's probably going to tell us a little bit more about that. She is also the director of sports medicine for Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. And if you've been on social media, I am sure that has run across your feed a time or two here very recent. While she enjoys working with all athletes, she has a special passion for gymnasts, circus artists, dancers, and cheerleaders. Dr. Kojo specializes in orthopedics, sports medicine, and believes in correcting athletic movement to optimize performance and reduce injury risk. Brown Girls Do Gymnastics is important to her because of her love for the sport and her past experiences as a brown girl in gymnastics that have shaped her life today. Dr. Kojo is honored to be a part of an organization that offers support, resources, education, and inspiration to help improve not only the lives of brown gymnasts, but the sport of gymnastics as a whole. I am so excited that she is joining me for this episode. Please help me welcome Dr. Kojo. Hey, Courtney.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
You are so welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited, and it just brings smiles to my face to have you here because I so relate to being a brown girl doing gymnastics.
Yes. I think we all have some similar stories and experiences. So
Exactly. I want to talk with you a little bit about your experience doing gymnastics. I know without telling our ages, not that I mind, but I know for me, when I was doing gymnastics, I was the only brown girl doing gymnastics. And for many of the competitions that I went to, at first it did take me getting used to that. But then after a while, like I didn't mind it. But I remember going to a competition and seeing one other brown girl, and I was like, oh, she looks like me. And it was just so refreshing to see that. How about for you, when you were doing your gymnastics, how many other brown girls did you see?
So for me, at the gym, so at my home gym, there were some brown girls throughout the gym. So when I think about my own team, where I was even like all through compulsories, I mean, I was the only brown girl on my team. I believe in the very, very beginning of compulsories, when we started level 4, there was one other girl, but she wasn't there for that long. So it was just me. And then all of the girls in the gym, there were some that were level 6 through 10 that I did see, and one brown gymnast that was elite. So I did get to see a few, but they weren't on my direct team.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember being able to like look at them and see what they were doing and see where they were going, and I could look up to them. And it's funny because I wonder if they even have any idea that that was happening
Exactly.
now. But because they were so much older, we weren't really, doing the same things. We weren't really together.
Right.
So yeah, so I was fortunate to have those girls in the gym, but when it came to everyday practice and like what I was doing with my team, I was the only one. And I do remember going to meets. So I first remember going to meets and not really thinking too much about it until my coaches mentioned something about it when we started going to specific meets in different states. And then my coaches mentioned, like, oh, you may not get the scores you deserve in these states because you're Black. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I never really thought about it before, but I was 9. So I don't know. It was just like, okay, great. I mean, I told my parents, but I didn't really know what to think of it. That's when I started to pay attention though, because I wasn't really paying that much attention before when we went to meets, and they just were kind of like, what you've been scoring consistently. So, if your scores aren't what they usually are, just, you know, keep that in mind, which is a kind of it's a crazy thing to tell somebody at 9.
That's really interesting that your coaches told you that. I never had that privilege of hearing that from my coach. Were your coaches Black?
No, no, my coaches were white, all white, American, one Russian. Yeah, and it was the head coach and, like, the owner of the gym that told me.
That is so interesting. My coach was white too, and during the time when I was doing gymnastics, it was very prevalent that that was
Yeah,
probably the obvious thing that was going on.
yeah,
And the fact that my parents would always ask, well, why weren't you getting this? Even though I won practically all the
mhm,
meets that I competed in, but my scoring was obviously different.
yeah,
And my parents did pick up on it. However, it was never said.
yeah,
And so you bring up a point about the judging, and I did mention in your bio about you being a level 10
mhm,
judge.
yes,
And having experienced that and having been told and educated about it from your coaches,
mhm,
and we know that coaches are supposed to, or judges are supposed to be very impartial
yes,
and unbiased as it relates to their jobs that they're doing.
yeah.
How does that affect you when you see other brown girls? How does that affect you?
So, for one, it's like I feel like it's a good thing in a sense that brown girls get to see that there are judges that look like them, because there's still not that many. I mean, when I was doing gymnastics, I don't remember hardly any, but I know there are 2 Black judges in Georgia that were the very first ones, and so I did see them in the very beginning, but you typically no. And we, going to meets in Alabama and Florida and South Carolina, yeah, never. So I usually just being there makes me happy, just for other brown girls to see them there, right? And then I also am kind of like paying attention when I can, to like what the scoring is, what other judges are saying, things like that. But always, of course, like just trying to stick to the rules as much as possible,
Mhm.
because of course, like, you're supposed to be as unbiased as possible, but everybody's bringing in something,
Yeah.
So we also have like 1,000 rules that you have to follow, and
You
they're
do.
very, very specific. So you just have to stick to the rules. And
You do. And it is very difficult. What made you go into judging?
so my roommate in college was a former gymnast too, and it was funny. We were kind of like, yeah, we probably were competing against each other and didn't realize, but we were talking about it. And I remember my coaches. So when I was in high school, I stopped doing gymnastics competitively, and I just literally did it for fun. Like it was just fun, and I had a great time. It was very much like a stress relief for me at that point. And so even my coaches then, they were well, one of them was a judge, and so she would talk about, she judging me. She's like, oh, you should get into it, you can start at 16. And I was like, okay, like sure, whatever. Maybe I would get into it, but I didn't think, like, I know you can start at 16, but I didn't really think that was something that I could do at that age. But I thought, maybe in the future it will be kind of cool to judge. And so when I so fast forward to college, it was the end of our sophomore year, and we were in Walmart in Athens, and we were looking at this judge, and we're like, oh, well, she definitely judged us. Like we remember her and her red hair. It was Marilyn. And so we like tapped her, and we were just like, hey, like, are you a gymnastics judge by any chance? And she was like, yeah, I am. And she was like, oh, I remember you too. You're just bigger now. And so she
Was
told
it Marilyn Bishop?
yeah, I think yeah, from a while ago. She doesn't judge anymore, but
No,
yeah.
that was my first coach.
Oh, really? So yeah, I'm like, I wonder if she even remembers that, like, because it was just so random in Walmart, and she told us what to do. And so we were like, okay, well, let's just see if we can do it. Like she told us, here's the state judging coordinator, you got to get all your membership. So she kind of told us what to do, and we went from there and took the test. Like the beginning, then it was like the full 5-6. It was level 5-6 test. Yeah.
Yes.
So we started with that, and we're like, okay, like let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah. So there was just, let's see, then in Georgia, two black judges, the only ones that we all knew, Lisa and Rose. And so um then it was Mario and me. And
Yeah.
then Chelsea, I think, came on a little bit later,
After
or
she
maybe
graduated.
around the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we started judging, and we just were like, this is pretty like cool to see gymnastics differently. Because of course, as a gymnast, like, I mean, obviously, there's judges, and they're judging you on certain things. But I did not realize how many rules and how technical it is, and the amount of studying that it takes for the level 9 and 10 tests.
Mhm.
It was,
Especially now, there's so
yes,
many.
especially now, and yeah, it's a lot. And so yeah, that's when I started. So that was in 2011. Yeah, around 2011. So it's been some years now judging, and it's been fun, but I have noticed still how little there are of brown judges
Yeah,
around. It's kind of crazy. And
it
it
is.
it has been good to see the increase of brown gymnasts in the sport,
Mhm.
but it's still very white. But it's changing, and it's been interesting to see that change over the past, I don't
Right.
know, 11 years
Yeah.
on the technical side. Um, yeah, it's been interesting, and interesting to see the rule changes and all that stuff. So
Exactly. Well, I'm hoping that anyone that's watching this episode, that if you have an interest in gymnastics and it's something that you just love, you don't have to have been a former gymnast. I
mm,
want to put that
no,
out there. There are plenty of judges who are judging, and they just enjoy watching the sport,
no.
and they become interested. And if that is you, and you want to get more information about how to enter into judging the sport at the lower levels first, and then increase your knowledge as you learn more about it, Courtney is the person that you will want to reach out to and find out more about. And I before we go more into what all you're doing now. What made you go into the sports medicine side of it?
So I was definitely like probably most gymnasts with injuries, that was a big deal. And the injury that when I first had to take a break at 13, so that was what, 10 years in, and then having to take a break because of a back injury. That was the most significant injury to where I had to take a break. Like a long break, months off. And I was 13, which of course is like an age for your body to start growing. So I grew a ton in my time off. That was the first time I felt like I had free time outside of gymnastics.
Mhm.
And yeah, my body changed a lot. I mean, I grew to be about 5'4", and I was 4'11" before that.
Wow.
So I grew a lot in the span of 6 months. But then like getting back into gymnastics after the break was one just hard because I was so much taller. I was like really large for a gymnast, like just
Yeah.
very tall. So getting used to that and my body getting used to that was just a whole experience. And then other things just started happening after that. Um, and looking back, like I did a lot of physical therapy, saw, chiropractors, different orthopedic doctors. I spent the most time with my physical therapist, though, the most time. And even then, I wasn't like, oh, yay, I love this so much. Like, I just had to go. And I think my first physical therapy experience, I was like maybe 9. I think 9, but I don't really remember that one too much. It was the ones where I was like a teenager. And then let's see, I had knee surgery at 16, but prior to that, I was in therapy to help prevent the surgery from happening, which did well for a while. And then I was landing an aerial and completely dislocated my left knee and tore ligament, and it was a mess. So then I so I was older at this point, 16, and so I didn't know like there was someone to help you like on the preventative side. I
Mhm.
just wasn't exposed to that
Mhm.
beforehand. I mean, we did conditioning, of course, in gymnastics, and I knew like, okay, it's for you to be stronger and for you to not get injured. But
Mhm.
after getting injured anyway, I didn't realize there were like medical professionals that are to help you, on the
Right.
preventative side. Because
Yes.
every other time I was just going because I was hurt, right?
Right.
So I liked that side. Um, the surgery part was interesting to me. I was starting to see like, oh, I like anatomy, and that's, maybe that's something I would want to do. Maybe. I don't know. I was thinking about it. I'm sorry, there's something in my eye. I'm
It's okay.
sorry. I guess something just kind of like got underneath my contact.
That's okay.
I might have to
Take your
step
time.
away for just a
It's
second.
live. It happens.
Yeah. Oh, geez. I might have to step away for just a second.
Okay. Hey, like I said, it's live.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
That's okay. Hey, it's live and this proves it. So we'll make sure when she comes back. If you all have, again, if you want more information about um, the judging, again, it's going to be in the show notes how you're going to be able to get in touch with Courtney to get more information about judging. If you want to know more information about prevention, you've got an athlete and you've been dealing with injuries, but you're listening to her now talk about she didn't know how that there was a such thing as preventive. And that's what drew her into becoming a physical therapist. And you heard me mention in her bio that um, that she was drawn to the physical therapy because she had injuries, but she wanted to make sure that she focused more on her actual preventive care. And that's what drew her back into it. And so now she's going to tell us more about that. Are we good now?
Yes, we are good. There was one eyelash in my
All right. Good. That is aggravating. So it's
yeah.
okay.
Okay. So anyway, yes. So I wanted to go into physical therapy because of the preventative part the most. That was like what drew me to it. And I also wanted to be able to help athletes post injury as well. because I knew, like, okay, as much as you try to prevent things, certain things still may happen, you know?
Hmm.
And I also got into becoming a lot more sports specific because of my experience after surgery. So I had knee surgery. And even prior to, I did a lot of work for strengthening stability. I mean, we worked for weeks, months, and I can definitely say I was so much stronger before, like when we were trying to do things conservatively. But what I didn't have was a therapist or an athletic trainer that was gymnastics specific. So it was very much like we're just going to get everything really strong and stable around your knee. Like, that's which it was for like normal people things and even like running or just jumping. But when we're talking about, landing on one leg, coming out of the air, like different from maybe how like a basketball player would do something, or a lot of athletes spend time on one leg. You're pushing off of one leg, you're doing something, but not a lot are in the air, like upside down, coming down on one leg. So I never did any practice like that.
Right.
So I just kind of thought, and there probably were therapists out there, but again, it may be the area where I was, or I mean, I just didn't know. My parents didn't really know. This was, we went to Emory Sports Medicine. Here's who they recommended. So, you know what I mean? But it wasn't necessarily like a gymnastics or even dance or circus or cheerleading, something where it's more similar,
Hmm.
that type of a therapist. So
Very
that's what I
good.
wanted to do, and to be able to work with athletes on the front end and the back end, but be able to make it very sports specific. And as I got into PT school and into internships and things like that, as I'm like learning about the body, and then I'm also still in judging. So
Hmm.
I'm still seeing rules from the technical side, although I did have to take a little break when the rules changed in 2013. And that's when I started PT school. And yeah, I didn't study at all for those tests. I was just go and like, I'm just gonna try and wing it, but
Wing
that
it.
never worked because I did not know the rules at all. So I had to take a little break
Right.
until I could pass even it was like the compulsory routines change.
Mhm.
And I'm just literally, I'm like, I haven't looked at them. I don't know a thing, but I'm just gonna try. Yeah, it
Mhm.
doesn't really work to take the test if you don't know the routines. So
Right.
if you're interested
Yeah.
in coaching, you have to at least know the routine.
Know the routines. Exactly. Well, I am really excited to hear that you are sports specific, and because the previous knowledge and being able to build upon from that is so very helpful, because your body knows what your client, your patient is talking about, and it's
Mhm.
not like them having to explain it to you. It's like, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I was just sharing with the audience when you stepped away
Yeah.
that that information is going to be in the show notes for them to be able to reach out to
Oh,
you.
yes. Mm,
And so I'm very happy to be able to do that as well.
yeah.
Now, I mentioned to the audience that they may have seen you in social media here a little bit, just because I want to ask you, how excited are you about Fisk University becoming the first HBCU gymnastics program ever? I mean, I know it's super sad that we are in 2022 and we're saying this, but hey, we will take it.
Yes.
How excited are you about this?
Yes. Well, I am very excited, as you can see. Look at my shirt.
I do see
I
it.
even wore the shirt because to have gymnastics in the HBCU is a huge deal. And it's the first collegiate program in Tennessee as well. So that also is a big deal. And so I think it's very important because gymnastics is a sport that really can take girls into college, and where you can be able to have an education because of gymnastics and be able to further your education and further your network and all the things that come with going to college, right? So I think it's great to have the option now, well, just more options, and then an option in an HBCU, because I know there are lots of black and brown gymnasts that may want to go to an HBCU but also want to do collegiate gymnastics, and we have to choose. And I think it's great that we no longer have to choose. And hopefully, this will be the first of many, and this will start the train of more HBCUs getting gymnastics, because I think an HBCU experience is totally different. I can't even say, I mean, I didn't have one. I went to University of Georgia and then I went to Mercer University. So I did not have the HBCU experience, but from my friends and, just colleagues that have all had that experience, I always hear them talk about kind of the same things. Of course, there are pros and cons at any place that you go, but one of the pros that they had was the like family community aspect. Things are on a smaller scale in the sense of like classroom sizes usually, and the relationships you have with your professors, your advisors, and the people that are there for you as you're making your way through college. And it was just different. Like I did not have that type of relationship with my academic advisor in undergrad
Mhm.
or grad school. I mean, grad school was a much smaller program, but still, it was not the same. um, and so I just think that part is really important to be surrounded by other Black and Brown people, especially as professors. I did not have, I'm like, did I even have any professors of color at UGA? Not at Mercer. At UGA, maybe. I was a Spanish major, so I had some professors. So they were all from Spain. Yeah, I mean,
I was
you
at
know,
UGA and I didn't,
yeah.
so
I'm like, did
didn't
I
have
have it?
any.
No,
No.
no, I didn't. And I just think that's so different. Even just seeing Black professors, seeing, Black people kind of running a whole university, like it's just a different experience. And
Mhm.
so I think it's great that, gymnasts will be able to have that too and be able to have more of a safe space. I mean, we hear stories all the time in 2022 about, the racism in NCAA gymnastics, and it's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like you make it
Yeah.
to NCAA gymnastics, like it should be fun. I mean, it's your way through your sports on some or way through college. So yes, you're a scholarship athlete. I get that. It's somewhat like a job. But
Right.
to make it there, you know what I mean? It
I
should be, you
do.
should be comfortable. You should be able to have fun. I mean, you should be able to trust your teammates and trust your coaches and,
Yes.
understand that racism is not an issue. I
I'm
just
super excited for Corinne because I remember Corinne at
yeah.
UGA. She was there when I was there, and
Yeah.
just she's the coach there, and just so excited for her
Yes.
getting the appointment as the head coach
Yeah.
at Fisk University for their gymnastics program. I will let my audience know this because you're being very humble. Your group, your organization, Brown Girls Does Gymnastics,
Yeah.
had a part in this appointment or getting gymnastics at Fisk University. So
Yeah.
since I pulled the cap off of it and you're not saying it, now that it's open and it's out there,
Yeah.
talk to the audience about Brown Girls Does Gymnastics and the part that they had in Fisk getting a gymnastics program.
Yes. So Brown Girls of Gymnastics, it started years ago. I would say about 7 years ago. And I got involved because the founder, Darren Moore, just asked me if I wanted to be a part of this. This was something she was thinking about doing. And, HBCU gymnastics is important. And she's like, no, HBCUs have gymnastics. And to be honest, it was not something that I really thought about until she mentioned it. And then it was like, they don't have any gymnastics programs, but HBCUs have lots of athletic programs. It's not like HBCUs don't have sports. They have huge athletic programs. So
Dion is killing it.
yeah, like there's huge sports programs at HBCUs, and that also means scholarships and opportunities for athletes. And so I'm like, yeah, like sure, I would love to be a part of that. Um, and just being able to be a resource for brown girls throughout the sport. And so back then, if you would have asked me that we would be here today with a actual gymnastics program and HBCU, yeah, I would have been like, yeah, okay, like that's a great dream and great idea, but like the amount of work and time to actually get a collegiate program started is huge. So I honestly didn't think it was like as attainable as it is, right?
Right.
But it has been, and the organization and Darren and everyone has worked so hard with even just putting the word out there and like making it known. Like there are no gymnastics programs in HBCUs.
Yeah.
And that's something that wasn't even talked about. So it
Yeah.
even started with, okay, let's get it talked about. Okay,
Yes.
then the networking piece has to come. Then there's got to be some money. Like, you know what I mean? When
Yes.
you're, starting this organization, when it was founded, there was no money. Like,
Right. There's
I
a lot.
mean, there was like those things are gonna have to be found somewhere. So the
Yes.
networking, the putting it out there, the rejection, I mean, all of that. And then even just the scrutiny from others about why there's this organization in the first place. And,
Mhm.
so it's been a lot. And I commend Darren for really like going after this and not stopping until there's an HBCU with gymnastics. And we're
Absolutely.
going to continue until there are more.
Until there are more,
So,
all it takes is the light from one candle to
yeah,
light the rest of them. And
yeah,
so the fact that the candle has been lit at Fisk, that
yeah.
just means that the rest are going to get lit. And I commend Darren and Brown Girls Do Gymnastics for
Mhm,
even lighting that. And you're right. I
mhm.
watched the marketing campaign that she started with the leotards.
Mhm.
They were just so cute, and I
Yeah.
was sharing that and making sure that my gymnasts and their parents supported that, and just it's amazing. So I congratulate you all on that, and you got a fan here. Now, you mentioned
Yes.
that Brown Girls Do Gymnastics has been around for 7 years,
Mhm.
and every year for the last, this will be the 6th year,
Yes.
there is
Mhm.
an annual conference that
Yeah.
happens for 3 days, and you all have one coming up in July 22nd through the 24th. And it's unique because when you think about conference or the conferences that I attend,
Mhm.
it's usually for the adults. It's usually
Mhm.
for coaches. Yours
Yes.
is unique. It
Yes.
is for parents and the gymnasts. Talk
Yes.
to the audience a little bit about that.
Yes. So I will agree with you. The conferences that I have always been to were for the coaches, and judges. It wasn't really for gymnasts and parents. But yes, so the importance of this conference. So we don't want it to be like a typical 3-day camp or an adult only conference. We wanted to kind of merge the two and give the gymnasts and the parents the space and resources to all come together. So it's special because now it's going to be on the campus of Fisk University. And last year was the first year, it was at an HBCU at Grambling State.
Mhm.
And it is just really inspiring to see so many Black and brown gymnasts and their parents come together because when you look at gymnastics as a whole, like we don't see that. And there's, the coaching is incredible. And we have things for both the parents and the gymnasts. So when you come in, we get everyone, signed in, registered. You get a swag bag, which is always super cute. So the swag bag is full of goodies, and then we also have vendors like leotard vendors and things like that. And then we come in, and it's not just training for the gymnast. So there is training, and you are broken up into groups based off of your level and age, but there are also goal setting workshops. There's choreography workshops. There's like outings with everybody. We usually do something like last year on campus. Um, and so it's a time for the girls to train and actually learn from Black and brown coaches that are current or former collegiate or elite gymnasts, current and former elite coaches. We have college coaches there that are coaching, and they're also, of course, looking at the talent because we have current college coaches there.
Right.
So the gymnasts are able to see so many other gymnasts that look like them all in one space that share the same interests, that also share some of the same struggles. And this is totally unique to what they usually see in the gym. Same thing with the coaching staff. And then, I mean, it's not every day either that you have D1 college coaches coaching you, or these former elite gymnasts coaching you, right? So you're getting their experience, you're getting their experience in life as a collegiate or elite gymnast, plus their expertise in, helping you train skills, right? And
Mhm.
then we also have, me, medical professionals, mental health professionals. We have nutritionists, that come in and just also talk to you about kind of the other aspects, not just the physical training part of gymnastics. So you
Mhm.
get to learn from them as well. And it's also a lot of fun. Like we have one former elite gymnast, and she was also a collegiate gymnast, and also was toured with Cirque du Soleil for I think 8 years. And so she's doing like the choreography and expression, and she does a workshop with the girls to like really work on their artistry and the importance of that. And then just seeing someone like her who was an elite gymnast, was a collegiate gymnast, and then she went to Cirque, so there's other paths of things you can do outside of just gymnastics, like there are other ways you can go. And so it's even good in that regards. And the girls also get to do a workshop with silks and circus equipment, so they kind of get the feel for Cirque, and that's usually a lot of fun. Um,
I
so yeah,
love that. I am so excited about just hearing about it. I can't wait to share the information with the audience on how
yeah,
they can actually register for it, because you don't want to, there's an early bird. Early
yeah,
bird gets
there's
the
really,
worm.
yes,
You want to make sure that you get registered for this conference. Even though it's July, there's an early bird which ends April 22nd.
yes,
The registration includes one athlete and one parent. The athlete
mhm,
age needs to be 6 and older. After
mhm,
that, the deadline to register is until it fills, but you definitely want to catch
mhm,
that early bird special. And again, you know how I always do, I always put this information in the show notes. Don't worry about it if you're trying to search for something. I wasn't ready, I don't have anything to write with. Don't worry about that. We'll make sure. So
yes,
this is the 6th annual Brown Girls Does Gymnastics
mhm,
Conference. But there was something that was birthed out of the conference. And I want you to share a little bit about the camp that was birthed out of
yes.
Brown Girls Do Gymnastics
Yes.
Conference. Talk about that.
So Camp Isla, this will be the first year that we do it. And the reason why we started the camp is because we've had parents and gymnasts come to the conference every year for the past 6 years. And every year it has grown. I mean, the very first one I think was like 30 something gymnasts. Then the next one doubled, and then the next one after that. And it's just grown significantly. And last year we had to put a cap on it because of COVID restrictions. So there were 100 girls and 100 parents, but that was, I mean, we had to cut it off. There was a very long wait list. So, and one of the things we got was where that parents and gymnasts would love to have more time. And so we thought, okay, well, how can we do that? Because it is training and workshops, and for the parents too. There are workshops available for the parents both days, with different clinicians and things. And so it's not just about training. And so because the gymnasts loved being with the coaches, and we've had quite a few gymnasts, come back after the conference and write us on, Instagram or Facebook and say, I got a new skill like as soon as I got back to the gym because I was just so fired up from the conference. And that they, would love to have more time training. So we created Camp Isla, and that is also going to be held at an HBCU at North Carolina A&T. And that will be July 3rd through the 8th. So it is longer, it's 5 days. And we split up the camp into two sections. So there's a high performance camp that's level 7 or Xcel Diamond and up, and then a training camp that's level 3 and up. And then we do have age requirements too, because of the nature of the camp and how the high performance camp is going to be where the girls are staying in dorm rooms, just, with another gymnast. There will be parent chaperones, but it's going to be girls, by themselves in the dorms. So that high performance camp is age 13 and up. So 13 and up plus level 7 or Xcel Diamond and up. And then the training camp is ages 7 and up, regardless of level. So I know for some it's like, okay, well, if you have a, 9-year-old level 7, they would still be in the training camp because we would like for a parent to, the gymnast to stay with their parent. But you will have optional and elite coaches in that camp as well. So they will still be able to be with the correct coaching staff needed
Mhm.
to be in that camp, even if you are higher levels but younger. So
Absolutely. I love it. I remember going off to my very first out of state camp.
mhm,
And I remember my parents did not go with me. They put me on a plane and sent me all the way to Louisiana.
mhm.
And I was gone. I was gone for probably about 4 days.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun being able to be in the gym, the 2-a-day practices, and the evening practices were the most fun, and then the activities outside of the practice. But yes, I concur with the gymnast. When you get back to your gym and you have all these new skills that you can do because you're just so motivated and inspired by the training that you got
Yeah.
at the camp that you were at, and just being with other coaches
Mhm.
and other gymnasts and the friends that you've made with
Yes.
the other gymnasts from other states that you probably won't see again because they're not in your region.
Right.
And although I did get to see some when I went to nationals,
Mhm.
but other than that, you're just
Oh, you don't
pen
see them.
pals, or now it's Instagram or
Instagram,
social media friends,
TikTok.
but yeah, so I'm super excited about the camp and the conference, and hopefully I'll be able to see some gymnasts and parents there, because I
Yeah.
plan on coming and sharing some mindset and confidence
Yes, which we
workshops.
are looking forward to that.
Yes.
Like, very
So
much so looking forward to that.
yes, I'm
So,
excited to be able to work with them in person. I have been doing lots of working with them online for the last 2 years,
yeah,
and it would be refreshing to actually get to work with them in person. And I'm really excited about doing the sessions with the parents, because my
yeah,
clients, I work directly with the athletes. So being able to work with the parents is going to be super exciting. And so
yeah.
I am just so happy to have had you here on this episode to share. We could talk all day about gymnastics, and you know
Yes,
that I can, because that is my love.
yeah.
And we could go on and on, but for the sake of time, we are going to wrap it up. And as I mentioned, the call to action, I'm going to share how everyone can get in touch with you for the
Sure.
parents who want to know more about you. And they're like, yes, I need someone. I've got an injured athlete. I have an athlete who is about to return to play, so to speak.
Yes.
And I just want to make sure she's doing it right. I want to know what to tell the coach, but
Mhm.
I'm also interested in preventive. This is how you get in touch with Courtney. This is
Yeah.
her Instagram. But then let's say you want to know more about Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. You want to know about how you can help support and encourage other HBCUs to get on board. You want to help financially. You want to help just reshare their post. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook. They have the same handle. It is at Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. Please, please, please go on their website as well. In fact, to register for the conference and for Camp Isla, you are going to have to go on their website to do it. And do not forget, there are early bird registration deadlines. We did not give you the early bird deadline for Camp Isla. It is April 15th. That is coming up. That's for the early bird. Remember, there are two different groups. The high performance group is for Xcel Diamond and level 7s and higher, that has an age requirement on it, age 13. And that is because that is an overnight stay. And the university actually does put that on there just because of the requirement. And then there's the training, which is for Xcel Silver and level 3 and higher, ages 7 and older. So don't miss that early bird deadline. And then after that, it is until it fills up. And for the conference, the early bird deadline is April 22nd. It's for one parent, one athlete, ages 6 and older. After that, the registration is until it fills up. And just remember, I hope you heard what Courtney said. Every year it fills up. And
Yes.
the more popular it is, the more it fills up. And the fact that the conference is going to be on the campus of Fisk University, the first HBCU to have a gymnastics program, you can best believe that it is going to fill up fast, because everyone is going to want to see what it looks like in person. Do not drag your feet on this. Go ahead and visit the website, go ahead and get your gymnast registered. If you have any questions, make sure that you reach out to them and get your questions answered. Now is the time. Parents have probably been signing up for camps months ago, so definitely meet these deadlines and get your gymnast signed up. Share it with your friends. They have another athlete that they want to attend with. You all parents coordinate this together. Get your rooms and everything already filled out, fill it out together and get it sent in, because you don't want to miss out on this. Well, Courtney, I do something with my guest for the final thoughts.
Okay.
And I'm going to do it with you as well.
Okay.
What is the one mindset habit shift that you would like to leave with the audience as it relates to maybe the theme with Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, or with what you do as a physical therapist?
Okay, one mindset shift. So I think, let's see. I am going to say being able to advocate for yourself, whether that is in the gym, especially, as a brown girl, if you're one of the only ones there, and when it comes to your body and how you're feeling, and not just your body, but how you're feeling physically and mentally, to be able to understand what you're feeling and when, you need to speak up about it, as far as there being, if there's an issue, with someone in your gym, or there's an issue physically or even mentally, being able to understand when it is time to speak up about it. So hopefully that was a good one, where I explained it well enough.
You did.
Yeah.
Being a self-advocate for any situation, learning how to speak up and be confident in that. I so appreciate you and being here and sharing all of the knowledge that you have about your physical therapy practice, about Brown Girls Do Gymnastics, and all of the things that you all are doing. It's fabulous. It's wonderful. And like I said, we could go on and on and on about it. And I'm excited to be able to work with you and Darren and the Brown Girls Do Gymnastics that's coming up here in the summer. Yes. I'm going to say goodbye to my audience. I'm going to put you back in the green room, and then I'm going to come back and have closing comments with you in just a moment. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been
all right. Thank you all for sticking around. I know I went a little longer today than I normally do. However, you all know that when it comes to gymnastics, yes, I can go on and on and on. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. You all know where you can reach me on social media. If you're not following me on one of those platforms, please do. And if you know someone who has a daughter in gymnastics and she would love to attend either the conference or Camp Isla, share this episode. And be sure that they are following, and that you also are following Brown Girls Do Gymnastics. And if you don't have an athlete in gymnastics, let's support Brown Girls Do Gymnastics and help to get more gymnastics into these HBCUs, so that our girls have more options. And you can also go to my website if you have an athlete that is just having a little bit of confidence challenges. Let's get that clarity call set up so that she can be on her way to overcoming her fears and maybe returning to play from just an injury that she just had, so that she can have a successful season. The season is winding down, and now is a great time for her to get on her program, her confidence program, and I would be happy to partner with her. And once again, I just want to thank you all for joining me for this episode. And remember, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you are right. Join me here next week, where I will have another special guest that will help us all to become more confident in whatever area it is that we need to be. Until then, have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to Conversations with Coach. Please be sure to follow Coach Christina on all of her social media platforms. And remember, Life is only as good as your mindset.